I pledge to seek common sense solutions to make your life better. And I pledge to be a president for all Americans. Now I'm asking for your vote.
The political system is broken. The two Wall Street parties are bought and paid for. Over 60% of us now say the bipartisan establishment's failed us, and we need a party that serves the people. I'm Jill Stein, and I'm running for president to offer that choice for the people outside of the failed two-party system.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president.
Before we even begin, let's state the obvious. America has never elected a woman president. Not once in 248 years. Not in 59 presidential elections. While 68% of the world's top 50 economies have been led by women, the United States remains in the company of China, Russia, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, nations that have never had a female head of state. This isn't for lack of trying. The story begins in 1872, almost half a century before women could even vote. Victoria Woodhull, a stockbroker and newspaper publisher, became the first woman to run for president, nominated by the Equal Rights Party with Frederick Douglass as her running mate. She was 34 years old, technically ineligible due to the Constitution's age requirement, and received no electoral votes. Belva Lockwood ran twice, in 1884 and 1888. She claimed to have received 4,149 votes across 6 states, though she alleged that Pennsylvania election officials destroyed ballots bearing her name. These women ran before the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote on August 18, 1920. An achievement that took 72 years of organizing, petitioning, picketing, and hunger strikes to accomplish. Even after women gained the vote, the presidency remained a fortress. In 1964, Margaret Chase Smith became the first woman to have her name placed in nomination by a major party, receiving 27 first ballot votes at the Republican National Convention. In 1972, Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to Congress, became the first woman to seek a major party's presidential nomination, running on a platform of being unbought and unbossed. Chisholm's campaign was underfunded, spending only $300,000 total. She faced threats on her life and skepticism from all sides. She later said, "When I ran for the Congress, when I ran for president, I met more discrimination as a woman than for being black. Men are men." In 1984, Geraldine Ferraro shattered a different barrier, becoming the first woman nominated for vice president by a major party, running alongside Walter Mondale. She told the Democratic National Convention, "By choosing a woman to run for our nation's second highest office, you sent a powerful signal to all Americans. There are no doors we cannot unblock." They lost in a landslide to Ronald Reagan. Ferraro's campaign was plagued by scrutiny of her husband's finances, questions rarely asked of male candidates. In 2008, Hillary Clinton came closer than any woman before her, winning 18 million votes in the Democratic primaries before losing to Barack Obama. She said in her concession speech, "Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it." 8 years later, Clinton won the Democratic nomination and the popular vote by nearly 3 million ballots, but lost the Electoral College to Donald Trump. In 2024, Kamala Harris became the second woman to win a major party's nomination. She too lost to Trump, winning women by only 10 percentage points compared to Clinton's 13-point margin in 2016 and Biden's 15-point margin in 2020. The question isn't whether women have tried. The question is, why does America keep saying no? The American presidency is, by design and tradition, a fundamentally masculine institution. All 47 presidents have been men. The role itself is coded with masculine expectations. Commander-in-chief, leader of the free world, the most powerful man on earth. Research shows that the presidency is associated with stereotypically masculine traits: assertiveness, strength, independence, emotional restraint, and decisiveness. These align with what voters expect from someone who commands the military and makes life and death foreign policy decisions. Presidents have historically used sports and physical prowess to demonstrate their masculinity. From Theodore Roosevelt's boxing, to George Bush's clearing brush on his ranch, to Barack Obama playing basketball. Athletic performance has become a method to promote masculine credibility. Trump took this further, building his entire political brand on what scholars call hyper-masculinity, an aggressive, confrontational, unapologetic style that presents strength as dominance. He emphasized traditional masculine power filled with bravado, satisfying culturally conservative supporters who equate leadership with a certain kind of manhood. This creates an impossible standard for women. As one researcher puts it, the presidency occupies a critically important symbolic space in the gender order. The powerful masculine symbolism surrounding the US presidency is arguably the single biggest reason why we have never elected a woman president. Women candidates face what researchers call the double bind, contradictory expectations that make success nearly impossible. Society expects women to be warm, communal, and likable, but it expects leaders to be competent, strong, and assertive. When women display leadership qualities, they violate gender expectations and are punished for it. The data is stark. In the famous Heidi-Howard case study at Columbia Business School, students read identical case studies about a successful venture capitalist. The only difference was the name. Heidi or Howard. Both were rated as equally competent, but Heidi was perceived as self-serving and unlikable, while Howard was seen as an admirable leader. This phenomenon is called the success likability paradox. When men succeed, they are generally liked more. When women succeed, they become less liked. Research shows that success and likability are positively correlated for men and negatively correlated for women. Hillary Clinton experienced this firsthand. She was well liked as Secretary of State. When she ran for president, her likability plummeted. Trump even said of her, "Do you think Hillary looks presidential? I don't think so," he told audiences. Can you imagine that? The face of our next president? Referencing Carly Fiorina. Research on the 2016 election found that both modern and traditional sexism exerted statistically significant effects on presidential vote choice. The effect of sexism rivaled that of racial resentment and was only exceeded by partisanship. One study using a list experiment during the 2024 election found that approximately 16% of respondents harbor negative views toward the idea of a woman president. And this bias spans demographic groups. Beyond personal bias lies a more insidious problem: pragmatic bias. Research shows that voters who personally prefer a woman candidate often shift to supporting a man because they doubt a woman can win. This is called gender shifting, intending to vote for a person of a different gender than the one you personally prefer. Among participants who most wanted a woman candidate, believing that women in general are more electable was negatively associated with gender shifting. In other words, the belief that America isn't ready becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. A 2025 poll found that nearly 1 in 5 voters said they or someone close to them would not elect a woman presidential candidate. This included 25% of women under 50 and 20% of men under 50. 4 in 10 Americans personally know someone who would not vote for a woman president. Voters also hold contradictory views about women's capabilities. A 2023 Pew Research survey found that most Americans don't think a woman president would do better or worse than a man on key leadership traits or policy areas. But research shows that men are presumed to be more competent on defense and foreign policy issues under the purview of the commander-in-chief. Women politicians face persistent headwinds over trust on national security. At the same time, voters say a female president must be both tough and likable, an impossible combination when toughness in women is read as coldness and likability is read as weakness. The United States is an outlier. Since 1960, 57 countries have been led by women. Sri Lanka elected the world's first female Prime Minister, Sirimavo Bandaranaike. In 1960, Iceland elected the first female president, Vigdis Finnbogadóttir, in 1980, and she served for 16 years. 68% of the world's top 50 economies have had at least one female leader. 13 nations have had more than one. Germany's Angela Merkel led for 14 years. India's Indira Gandhi served for 16 years. New Zealand, Pakistan, the Philippines, Chile, Liberia, Brazil, Argentina, and most recently, Mexico have all elected women to their highest offices. The US shares the dubious distinction of never having had a woman leader with authoritarian regimes like Russia, China, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Some argue that gender shouldn't matter, that we should simply elect the most qualified candidate. But when implicit bias, double standards, and electability concerns systematically disadvantage half the population, most qualified becomes code for most like every president we have had before. The refusal to elect a woman president isn't just about individuals. It's about what America believes about power, about who deserves to wield it, and about what leadership looks like. Shirley Chisholm said it best in 1972. "I ran for the presidency despite hopeless odds, to demonstrate the sheer will and refusal to accept the status quo. The next time a woman runs, or a black, a Jew, or anyone from a group that the country is not ready to elect to its highest office, I believe that he or she will be taken seriously from the start. She was wrong. 52 years later, we are still waiting. The question isn't whether America will ever elect a woman president. The question is, how many more women will have to run and lose before we are finally ready?